Hello and welcome to the Godfather Chronicles. My name is Miguel Garcia and I am your host. On this episode, I got some questions, very specific questions about the way I handle professional life, private time, faith. So I'm going to read these questions and I'm going to answer them. The person that sent me the questions through Instagram is Steven Nosek. He's part of the syndicate, and he wants to know, juggling a full-time career in business and family, how do you focus on running business while showing up for your family? Like holidays, sporting events, teaching kids, chores, etc. So early on my career, my wife and I had a conversation. And as you guys know, my wife and I had 15 children. And it was very obvious that one of us had to go out and work. My wife has always loved the fact that she could stay home. She loves to be a homemaker. And, I respected that from the beginning. She told me she wanted to stay home. So I had to handle things outside the house. In other words, be the breadwinner. And what I did was we had a conversation and we said, hey, when we got the first child, it was okay. You got one kid, you're excited, and you go to work, come back home, and that kind of stuff. But as the family grew, when we got to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children, the challenges grew as well. And when we got to the level on the business where it was taking a lot of my time, and with that many children, all of a sudden we had all these birthdays, all these activities and things like that. And so my wife and I had the conversation of, what do we do? So we decided that we would celebrate birthdays on the weekends, because most of the weekends I would stay home. So we're not the kind of family that insist on having a birthday party on the day off. And it's just something practical that we agreed on. I had a conversation with my older children, like particularly one of my daughters. She was turning 15. And as you know, for us, quinceañera, it's a very important date. And I said, hey, baby, I'm traveling on those days. Is it okay if we celebrate it on the weekend? And she said, that's fine, Dad. Let's do that. And so, okay, we worked things out before they even happened. Having that open line of conversation and being honest with them, and also bringing my family into the business. It was very important for me. For me, like having the kids understand what Dad was doing for them. So I would tell them, hey, I'm working for this. We're building a business. We eventually will have this and that. We will have more freedom. I think Ed Milet in one of the syndicate sessions said something like, you have to have a big enough goal to fit everybody else's goal in. So my wife knew that I was working my rear off to have a better home, a better quality of life, and the same thing with my children. So again, having that understanding and bringing them into the process helps a lot. You have to have the conversation. I've had calls with other men that have told me, well, my wife does not understand me. My wife or my family, they don't understand me. And my answer is, well, do they know what's in it for them? Are they, how are they vested in the big picture? And so a lot of times we don't bring him into the big picture and say, hey, this is what's in it for you. Like for my wife, having building our home was very important to her, because with so many children, we had to customize the house, and it had to be a certain way. She's petite, so having a custom home where the windows would be a little lower, especially the kitchen one, was very important here. And so she knew that it was going to be expensive. And so she excused me from some of the events, especially, church events or concerts from the children. And the children would know that, hey, Dad has to work. We're building a business. We're building a better future. And this is going to affect you this way. When you graduate from high school, we'll get you a car. We'll help you with this. Anyway, again, you got to bring them into the picture, and they have to understand what's in it for them and why are you doing what you're doing. So the last thing I wanted was for my children to say, well, my dad never made it to my game, so my dad missed my recital, or my dad this or that, or missed my birthday. I would try to make as many activities as I could, and I try to be present. But then again, if it's a birthday or anniversary or things like that, we will move them to the weekend. And I would tell them, hey, we'll have a better time because Dad doesn't have to worry about work or anything like that. It's just us. So anyway, that's how I handle the business family sort of thing, and it works for me. I want to emphasize the fact that you have to have the family in the picture. Their goals need to be inside your goals, and they need to know that they're vested, and they need to know that they're working with you towards achieving the goals, and that there's a reward, and the reward is whatever, freedom, better house, money, a car, whatever. So that's how I handled it. So that was a great question, and I hope I answered it. Again, it's tough building a business and having a large family. It's tough, but you have to figure it out. We have to figure out ways to work within those parameters. And communication is a huge factor. Honest, open communication. My wife knew that when I was traveling for business, I would not extend the days I was out. I mean, if I could do a one-day trip, I would do it. And I would kill myself, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock a.m. flight, return at 10 p.m., and get home at midnight and go to work the next day. So I never overextended a trip because I wanted to be home, and being that extra half a day at home, it was very important to me, and it was very important to my wife, and she knew that. She used to tell me, "It's like, man, you're crazy. Why are you doing that? Why don't you stay the extra day? Why are you killing yourself?" But I would tell them that I would take the opportunity to go, hey, baby, I'm doing it because of you. I miss you guys. I want to be home, so I'm going to sacrifice myself. On that note of sacrificing yourself, when I was doing 75 hard, I never sacrificed my family for anything. I would do it on their time. I would do it on my own time. If you have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, if you typically get up at 6 and help with the kids at home or whatever, then you have to get up at 5 and do some of the workouts, so that you don't disturb the daily routine. So again, it's up to you. It was up to me, and I would rather do things like getting up early or taking early flights and coming home the same day or whatever. It didn't matter if it was an inconvenience for me, as long as it was not an inconvenience for my family, and as long as it showed them that I loved them because I was sacrificing myself, then it always worked out. All right, so I'm going to go on to the second question. Private time. How do you do special, thoughtful things for your wife when you have little time throughout the day? All right, it's a great question. I answered that question in one of the hour calls, but I'm one that likes to send little text to my wife, little "I love you" notes, "I miss you," little kiss emoji, and things like that, or just give her a call and say, "Hey, how you doing?" You have to take the time. You know, at least my wife. I don't want to say all women, but they're in the details. Little details go a long way, and a little detail is leaving her a note, um, saying that you love her through a couple days, a couple times a day. Send her a text. Keeping things interesting. The regarding a date night or whatever, when we were building the business and the family was growing, it was hard for us to go on a date, and because time and babysitting and all sorts of things. But the other thing was we had no money. We had no extra money. So there was a time where we were able to like put $50 away and go out to dinner, and we would go to like Red Lobster. We knew that our two meals were like, I don't know, $35, $40, and then you had the money for tip. We would go to, after Red Lobster, we would go to Walmart and buy that little 1 ounce, 2 ounce, whatever ice cream. I don't remember the name. It's a German ice cream. That's a dessert because we couldn't afford dessert, and we were fine with that. We love the company. We love the peace and quiet of date night, and there were times where we couldn't afford it. I remember one time that I said, "Hey, we got $50 saved up. We want to go out to dinner," and she said yes. So as we were driving to Topeka, to the restaurant, I said to her, "Look, I don't want you to get upset. I have an idea. Would you mind going to McDonald's and having ice cream sundae, and then go to like Dillard's and see if there's anything on the clearance or sale racks, and you can buy whatever you want?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Yeah, that's fine." So we went to McDonald's and spent like, I don't know, $5. And so she had $45 left. And, we'd spend the time at McDonald's eating the Sunday ice cream, but talking and enjoying each other's time. And then we went to Dillard's, and, she went to the clearance rack and the sale rack, and she got some shoes and she got a dress or whatever, but she enjoyed every bit of it. And so it's important for us men to know what our wives like, what they need. I mean, she needed some time off. We wouldn't go shopping like because we didn't have the money, and we didn't have the time. So I knew that she liked shopping. It's every woman's favorite sport, I think. I'm just kidding. Don't want to sound bad or whatever. But anyway, she liked shopping, and so I enjoyed standing beside her and watch her go through all this clothes and on the sale rack, in the clearance rack, and get a dress or a blouse. I can't remember what it was, but then she got a pair of shoes. And she was really, really happy and excited about that. So, I cherished those moments. There were tough moments for us, but, we were together, and that's all that mattered. We enjoy each other's company. I make sure that when I'm with her, when I'm traveling with her, I give her all my time. Now that we have a lot more freedom, we travel together as much as we can. So any business trip, I'm bringing her with me. And, thank God the Art Syndicate allowed spouses to come to the events. Not to the day event, but, we could spend time with them in the evenings. We could go out to dinner or whatever. And it has really elevated our relationship. In a couple of weeks, we're going to go to Austin to an official art meeting, and I'm bringing her with me, and I know we're going to have a great time. So, the question is, what do you do especially? It's how do you do special things for your wife? Well, just take care of her. Make sure you focus on the details. I'm not a big flower guy. I don't give flowers, but I would give her some of the present, or I would give her money and say, hey, baby, here's $100, $200, $80, $50. Sometimes, the kids owe me money and they pay me, and I turn around, just give it to my wife, and she appreciates that. Now she's got extra money to do whatever she wants. So focus on the little things, focus on the details, because that, at least my wife, focus on those things. Those things that mean a lot to her. I also, when I'm home, I know she doesn't. Nobody likes doing dishes, right? So I try to get the big pans and pots and things like that are a pain in the rear to wash, and I'll wash dishes. No problem. I'll cook on the weekends. And she helps me prep or whatever. But it's something that I do. I don't want her to cook on the weekends unless she wants to help, and it turns into a nice event when you're doing it together. Again, sometimes she takes the kids to the pool, and I'm in the kitchen and I clean the kitchen. I'll do the dishes, dry and put them away, clean the counters, and when she comes back from the pool room, if I didn't go with her, I'll have her glass of wine ready and the kitchen clean. And now, all we need to do is put the kids to bed, the twins to bed, and we can enjoy a glass of wine and a conversation, or watch a little bit of TV or things like that. But she appreciates the fact that I do the kitchen, I clean the kitchen. So anyway, so focus on the little details because they're important for them. Last question from Stephen. It's about faith. What part of church belief comes to mind when everything seems to be so overwhelming? So to me, when things are going rough, which they do quite often, I think, life's not easy. God sends a lot of trials and tribulations because you need those to grow. You need the trials and tribulations to grow. You can't exercise virtue if God doesn't send you trials and tribulations. It's like you can't grow your muscle if you don't tax the muscle by exercising, and it hurts. And so when things are getting tough, I'll go back to the basics and go, hey, God, you're growing me. You're going to graduate me. You got something big for me coming up. That's why you're putting me through this trial or tribulation. Business side, I used to, well, still do. I get down when things are not going my way. But I remind myself, well, okay, who's in charge? God is. Can God change my situation? Of course He can. He could do a miracle and change things in 1 second. And so, but how does that? How is He helping me through this tribulation or dark time or whatever you want to call it? Well, He's exercising my patience, and also He wants me to look at the situations in a different way. He wants me to, look at this particular issue and on a different angle. And I try to look at it from His perspective. So the way I look at God is like this. He's a father. He's my father. He's a parent. I'm a parent. What do I do when my kids are struggling? I could be the dad that fixes every problem for them and they don't learn anything and life is easy. Or I could be the dad that lets them struggle, coaches them through the struggle, and they learn and they become stronger. So that's exactly what God does. He's a very loving Father, and He lets us struggle, ask for His help. He'll send little signals or signs, and then we figure it out. My wife and I have gone through a lot of adversity. You know, losing a son. When my son Rafael was diagnosed with cancer, brain cancer, we didn't know what to do. It was devastating when the doctor told us. But I remember my wife and I going, okay, how are we going to handle this? And we asked for God's help, and we said there's not going to be any regrets. We're going to see what God has in store for us. And we noticed that God sent us peace amongst the storm, of the barrage of things that were thrown at us, like, now you got to go to this hospital, now you got to go to this doctor, you have to have this test, and the test is positive, the brain tumor grew, you need to do chemo and radiation, and we don't know if your son is going to survive, you got to do this and that or whatever. Amongst all that turbulence or trial, we were at peace, because we were like, okay, we're going to do God's will. God wants our son to go to heaven. And my son knew that, because we told him. So we handle the entire situation from God's perspective, if you want to take it that way. And we would go, okay, well, God is in charge. God is teaching us a lesson, and God is not only us, but the rest of our children. The amazing part was that when you conform your will to God's will, that's when things work. Because it's like you clear a channel. You clear a blockage between you and God, and you go, God, thy will be done. I'm your instrument. Let me know what you want me to do. And when you put whatever problem in that perspective, then God sort of takes charge. And I'm telling you, the peace that my wife and I had, it was just amazing. It was eerie. When my son actually died, he died at home, and surrounded by all of us, and it was just, it's going to sound morose or whatever, but it was beautiful. My son had a beautiful death. He went to be with God, happy. He knew he was dying. As a matter of fact, he asked me, he said, Dad, how do people go to heaven? And I said, son, people have to die first. And he's like, okay. And I said, somebody might have an accident, somebody might have cancer like you do. And so God sends different ways so people die. But you have to die in order for you to go to heaven. And he goes, how do you die? So I said, well, your soul comes out of your body, and you close your eyes and you're dead, and then you open your eyes and there's God. You're in heaven, in front of him. He's going to judge you. And I said, the first thing you'll see is God. And I remember him saying, wow, I really want to see God. And he wasn't questioning anything. And so God not only gave my wife and I peace and understanding, he also gave my son peace and understanding. He was able to accept the fact that he was going to die. He was able to accept the fact that he was no longer going to see his mother or his father or his siblings. And he was okay with it, because he wanted to be in heaven more than anything. And so, getting back to the question, which part of the church or the belief comes to mind is that you got to trust God. In times of tribulation, you can't curse God. You can't get upset about things because He just makes it worse. Think about your kids. If one of the kids gets in trouble and he's cursing you, damn you, Dad, because you're not helping me. And you're trying to teach him a lesson or whatever. So, again, conformity to God's will, accepting what He's sending you, and looking at, okay, what am I going to learn from this? There's also, what do you do when you're getting when you're getting sad and depressed and that kind of stuff? You have to remember God's promises. You have to have certain triggers that are going to take you away from those dark moments. For me, I'm like, what are you teaching me, Lord? What are you teaching me? Please make it clear for me. This new business that my wife and I launched, we're starting from zero. And it's very slow, and it's hard, and it's frustrating, and you wish this could turn around in 2 seconds, and it doesn't. It's very, very slow. And what is God teaching me? Patience, and He wants me to stay humble because I'm a very proud man, and I know it, and obviously God knows it, and so He's like, you're going to do it right, you're going to do it my way, and it's going to be slow. I know you want, Miguel, I know you want to do this fast, but it's going to be done slow. It's going to be done at my time, not your time, Miguel. And so I remind myself of those things. And, once I know that He's in charge and that I'm going through a process, then I'm okay with it. So for you need to build some triggers, and when you're slipping into the dark side or the depression or whatever it is, frustration, go, oh, well, but God's in charge. This is not going to happen in my time frame. It's going to happen in God's time frame. Understand that, know that, and it's easier to, at least for me, it's easier for me to digest that pill, because again, I'm very, very impatient, and my temperament is it's a type A choleric, and I'm also melancholic, and so I could go really hard in the type A, go through things, plow through things, and get things done. But I also, when things don't go my way, I get really dark. And I know that the church teaches that when, God would allow you to be sad, but God would allow you to be sad for things like you're living a sinful life, you're doing things that you're not supposed to do or whatever. He would allow sadness to creep in if you realize, if you look at yourself and go, man, what am I doing? I'm hurting my family, or I'm hurting God, I'm offending God, or whatever. That type of sadness God would allow, but not the sadness that will bring depression and suicidal thoughts and things like that. So the church teaches the discernment of the spirits. And I learned this concept when I went to religious retreat. And that helped me a lot, because it says God will not allow you to get so depressed that you're thinking about taking your life and things like that. Because you have to understand that the devil is the one that brings you those paralyzing thoughts. When the darkness, the depression, is creeping into you, and it's so deep and so dark and so paralyzing, then I think about, okay, where is this coming from? I have to discern. Is it coming from God, allowing me to see my state of the state of my soul? Or is it the devil who's trying to trick me into doing something stupid? And so you'll have to stop and think about it. And it works for me. That's what works for me. I stop and I'm going, okay, this is stupid. I shouldn't be this sad. I shouldn't be this upset. This particular thing that is causing me to feel this way, it's not worth it. It'll go away. And I'll start analyzing it that way. And so, again, if you're feeling down or whatever, you need to figure out where it's coming from. The enemy, the devil, will send you paralyzing sadness. God will allow you to be sad because, you need to correct yourself, right? Yeah, the difference is, again, the devil will paralyze you and he will give you thoughts of deep depression and I don't want to do anything. Which brings me to the point, if you allow him to do that and you find yourself in a very dark spot and you don't want to get up or you don't want to go to work or you don't want to open the shades in your room, you have to do the opposite. The church teaches that you combat the devil's doings by doing the opposite. It's a Latin term called agere contra. So you do the opposite. So if you don't feel like getting up, you get up. If you don't feel like going to work, you go to work. If you don't feel like doing something, then you do it. Just do the opposite. And that's how you start snapping out of that. For me particularly, I working out, going on a bike ride, doing some sort of cardio workout gets me out of the funk. And also, trying to change my mindset that God is not allowing this. It's the enemy who's doing this to me, or is trying to do this to me, and I'm not going to let him win. So I hope this little bit of answers here help you. And if you have any more questions, send me your questions. I'd love to answer this question. I love these very specific questions because we really can get into the meat of the problem. If you need anything, just DM me at MAG email me at miguel@godfatherchronicles.com or find me on Facebook under Miguel Godfather. If you found value, please, let people know, give me a review, and I will get better. I know I stutter a lot or whatever, but I'm nervous. This is totally unnatural for me to be sharing deep things, personal things, but I'm stepping out of my comfort zone because I want to help you. I want you to win. I want you to learn the things that I've learned, and so that you live a better life. All right, guys. Love you. Take care. God bless. See you next time.